Hey guys, Optimus Prime 86 here with another custom corner how-to on the Ectoplasmal Optimus Primal. And today, this one's going to be a short video. That's why I'm most likely going to release 2 capsules this week to make up for the shortness of this one. But this is a step that I've already detailed on the channel that I'm just going to go over in this project specifically, since it's going to be put to use, and then move on to the next step. So we're going to tint the windshield today. So what I did is this is a Tim Hortons cup that I just cut the bottom of because I'm just going to dispose of it when I'm done. I took some Helmer's clear glue. I just dumped it in there. And now I'm going to put one little drop at a time, a bit of food coloring. There we go, one drop. And then see what kind of color that gives me. 1 second, I had a stir. Actually, I'm just going to use the brush, because we're going to basically paint with this like we would with paint, but with colored glue. So let's mix it. So for this prime, for this color, we don't want a really dark green. We want a almost yellowish. So that's why I brought the yellow here, to try to lighten it up a little bit. So let's see if we go one ratio of 1 green to 2 yellow. Let's see what that gives us. You can always readjust after the fact. And that is also why I put stuff underneath. So that, that might be. And it's still a little darker green, a little greener than what we'd like. So let's add a little bit more yellow. Let's go 1 drop at a time from here. A little bit more. 2. When it's thin and clear, I think this should be good enough. So I think it was 1 green to 4 or 5 yellows. So what you want to do is just like you would with paint, like I was saying, you want to take a layer. And the reason why I'm doing this now is because since I've already showed the arm, I'm skipping the chest and crotch as well as cockpit piece painting, and maybe possibly the gunboat, just because it's all the same steps. You just reapply those steps to all those parts. So I'm not just going to make you guys sit through all this. I'm just going to show kind of a finished result of all the other pieces. But this one, because of this specific special step, sorry, is particular. Because that step, first of all, has to be done first. In this case, because first of all, since we're going to be painting with a white base, and this is colored, it's going to show really bad if we paint over it. But also, you don't want your glue over it. You want a chance to cover it up, or if you can't take it away, like if you use an X-Acto knife or Cheatrock knife to scratch it off afterwards. I'll show you in a minute once it's dry. That's one way. If you can't do that, because sometimes when you try that, the whole freaking film wants to come with it. So in that case, don't. Just paint over it. And that way you kind of like get rid of that imperfection in the process. So what you want to be doing is, with the cockpit open, you want to apply a coating of this colored mixture. But you want to watch for bubbles. So you don't want any air bubbles to be left. And you want the coating to try to be as nice and even as possible. And you can put a little bit more at the top, because the way we're going to lay it down, it's all going to come down, and then the residual is going to come down on the paper. But it's going to lay and dry on the way down, right? So it's going to preserve more of the coating, basically. Up, 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 up. There we go. And then you want to do the other side. And you want to try to reach the edges so that it touches, so that the two films, the inside and the outside film, touch each other to form an envelope completely around your windshield. That way, over time, it won't just peel and roll off and have a better chance to stick properly to your figure for, like, you know, ever. And again, this is to imitate the windshield color pattern of MP10G, Ghostbuster Optimus. Ah, come on. Stay open. I'm just trying to equalize the spot that seem like to look like, you know, they're thinner. And then you just want to open it up, put it down somewhere like this on the like this when there's nothing else on the paper, just so that it has space to lay and dry, and then the residual also will come down. You may have to do a second coating, you may not. It depends on how it's going to stick the first time around. And then, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pause the video, let it dry, come down, and then we'll come back with a fully painted and fully tinted windshield piece and go from there. All right, so as promised, we're back, but with a little more than just a fully tinted, painted windshield piece. So let me explain what I decided to do here. So you guys are smart. The step that I've provided in the previous videos are literally a rinse and repeat over all the pieces in the project. So I'm not going to make you sit through the entire painting of the thing. So we basically did the taking apart, the detailing, the first coat, the second coat. I'm going over today. I was telling you we were going to go and seal the arm. Well, I've already done the sealing on most of it. I kept a little part, the fins and the disc, here for the end for a specific reason that we're going to come to in a minute. But again, I did a previous video specifically on this step here on the channel. That's why I'm not going to go through that with the entire project again. The other thing that I decided to skip is the paint mixing, because I've already, again, did a specific capsule on that on the channel that you can go through if you want to get the full gist of it. But basically, in a, you know, nutshell, for this project, for example, for the bottom leg here, I took some blue, then I added a little bit of black, mixed, added a little more, mixed, and kept going like that gradually until I got the shade of blue that I wanted, and then did my whole bot. And this is what the rest of the dried is what we have here, because I use a little pop can recycled as a container, and then you can just toss it when you're done. And then for the upper leg, I have a started with a black, and then that one was to lighten the color instead of darken, so I used the white instead of black, and then so I added a little bit, and then again mixed and gradually until I got the gunmetal gray that I call that we have here, and then went over and did the parts. So that's how the paint mix goes, and there's, like I said, a video already on the channel about that specifically. So what you see here is basically finished and ready for assembly, aside of the fins, which is what we're going to do today, so that we can see the sealing process real quick with the movable pieces. But the rest, and I'm going to go through it a little bit more in detail on the assembly when we come back together to assemble it all. All the pieces here have been detailed, have been double coated in varnish to seal the paint properly so it doesn't rub off, and have been dried. Now they're ready for assembly. So today, what we're going to focus on is varnishing of the fin. The one that I really want to focus on is the one on the arm. And the reason for that is, you'll notice if you watch my previous video, just by the length of even my hair, that these videos were taken quite a bit apart. So my motivation was really shot down because as I was preparing an arm to show on screen for the video of the sealing of the arm, what I was warning you guys about, I guess I wasn't paying attention enough and did that mistake myself. So what did I do? You notice here how this part on the shoulder spins. So when you seal your arm, you have to make sure that you do not get first paint when you paint it into that track that it goes in, but also obviously the varnish itself. Otherwise what happens is it seizes the hinge or the rotating track that the disc is on, and when you try to apply pressure to unseize said piece, you wind up with a show-accurate version of Optimal Optimus. You know that episode at the end, Nemesis, when, I think it's Nemesis Part 2, where he's being dragged into a tractor beam that has like these like crushing blades coming in and he's about to be swollen, and then he literally just rips a fin off his shoulder and throws it into the mechanism? Well, that's what happens. When I try to apply the pressure enough to spin it, I went with a knife first to try to unseize and, like, you know, get the varnish and paint that could have been in there, getting it stuck. But that wasn't enough. When I tried to basically spin it, I don't know if I just didn't apply it in the right areas or if it just was going to happen one way or another, but basically the hinges literally shattered to little pieces, like slivers, to the point where it wasn't even worth trying to piece together and fix. So I had to redo an entire arm entirely. Luckily I had a junker which I was able to get a piece off of and redo it, but that kind of shot down my motivation for a while, like a couple months. And then I went onto Facebook group recently. My previous two custom, my Nemesis Primal and my Shatterglass Primal, got brought up in casual conversation. Pictures were asked that I provided, and then people were asking for more, which drove my motivation up to get the project on wheel again, that I wasn't the only one wanting to see this. So here we are. So let's put this broken piece aside as a reminder, and let's finish this project. So to show you what we were discussing when we left, here is the fully tinted windshield and fully painted chest piece that we were talking about, even down to the detail in the cockpit. That with a steady hand and a lot of patience and precision, you can get to do that as well. So today we're focusing on this. So what I did to make sure that this did not happen again is when I applied my varnish, I'm doing it into two separate parts. So I'm putting varnish, that's already been done, but I've put the varnish just up to the edge, but not enough so it was going to go into the track. So you got to make sure that you don't have too much excedent varnish on whatever tool you're going to use to apply it, and that you have enough control to make sure that it does not go into that track. And then you apply the two coats, but since I was doing the fin last, I didn't do the disc yet, and that's what we're going to do right now. So we're going to do this as a separate part as well and make sure that we don't put the varnish into the track. Another thing to do is, while it dries, every so often pick up the piece, spin it, so that if the varnish was in the track and was drying, that's gonna stop it from seizing in place. So let's get this show on the road, shall we? And on video, I'm only gonna do the one fin. The rest I'm gonna do off camera, again, to not have you guys just sit through and watch me, you know, literally paint. And then when we get back, it's gonna be assembly time. And I'm also going to have a surprise for you guys. I created a custom piece, technically, for this. It's comprised of a 3D printed and painted piece by Grimlock's Forge. Go check out his Facebook page. He basically prints a bunch of really cool accessories for all kinds of Transformer lines. So please go check him out. Really, really easy to deal with. Really good guy, really good price, and really good piece. And another piece that I got off a gizmo that I had here that I'll explain later. I don't want to give it away just yet. And then something was also obviously custom painted to fit the whole thing. But I can't wait to show you guys, but not just yet. As we assemble it, I shall reveal that extra little detail. It's nothing major, but it's just something that adds to the flair and authenticity of the piece and seals the deal with the crossover that we're doing here. So let's get this on the road. So basically what you want to do, as you can see, you can either do it two ways. Here I just did a little on my brush, or I can put just a few drops in different spots on the wing and just literally just spread it. And try to get it spread as evenly as possible and not to have any blobs of it form, because it's going to give like it's going to make like a little bubble when it dries. If you try to peel it, it's going to make a hole in your seal. So you're going to have to redo it anyways. And it also has like a pink-ish tint to it that it gives to, over the paint, and it just doesn't look good. So you just want to be careful not to put enough, but not too much. And there we are. If it's thick enough that you can tell that there's varnish, it's too much. I'll try to show here on camera. I don't know if it's gonna show properly, but let's see if I can focus. Oh, we can't really see it right now. The lens does not allow it, but basically it has like a whitish, and you can see like a tinge, and like it has like a, you can see the puddle of it almost forming. It's usually going to be in corners that it tends to do that. I'll make sure that we do the edges, as you want to seal all around 360, otherwise it's not a seal and it will peel. I'm a poet and I don't even know it. And another thing that I do, like when I do big portions of the varnishing, is every now and then go and wash my brush, because otherwise the hair in it becomes really, like, they go all in weird directions, and it doesn't spread the varnish as well. So let's do the underside. And if you're good enough at manipulating your piece, you could do one session for the varnish, meaning that you, like, when I left off with the arm, the hand was not yet painted, and neither was the fin, so that we could hold the piece, and then these sections were going to be varnished first. What I ended up doing off camera actually is painting the hand before I did the varnish at all, and then just used the fin and lightly touched the base in some places in order to hold my piece, so that I wouldn't actually take the paint off with my fingers on the base. And I had obviously a non-painted area, because those were painted just last night, to hold my piece as well while I paint and varnish those areas. The one thing to do and remember when you varnish is not to go full 360, because you need an area where you can sit your piece while it dries, So with the arms, what I like to do is leave the bottom untouched, do everything else. Then when this is dry, do the bottom and then lay it on its side. There we go. So yeah, so if you're not sure if you can manipulate it fully, then I would recommend a partial sealing. So don't paint the hand, don't paint the fin, and use these two areas to hold it. Varnish the rest but the bottom, let it dry, do the second coat, let it dry, then varnish the undercoat, the underside, one coat, let it dry, 2 coat, let it dry, then do your hand. Varnish 2 coats, and then do your fin. There we go. I'm gonna add one more blob here. Just to make sure that seals in that color, but it also gives it a nice, it's like brand new shine, like it's really neat. One of my friends yesterday saw the work that I was doing on, before obviously assembly, and he saw that once the varnish was dry and was like, this is looking neat. He's like, this doesn't look like a paint job, it looks like a toy. So once we get to the disc, I don't recommend using a blob because you want that control. So you just want a little bit of varnish, and you want to try to remain right within the limit of the disc without going into the track. Do the same on both sides. So what I'm doing here, there's always residual with this bottle that falls along on the edges of the hole and along the cap. So I'm using those residual right now rather than dropping a blob to just have enough varnish to spread, but not enough that when I apply my brush down, it wants to like splurge all over the place, right? And just go everywhere. And you want to make sure that you get those edges done as well. So here we go. So this is the first coat on the first fin. So I'm just going to basically just let this dry, second coat it. And before I do as well, you obviously, while you only have the one coat, you want to make sure that it spins. And then put your second coat, make sure it spins, and you're good. So I'm going to do the other fins and the other disc. And fin as well here, and then once everything is dry and ready to go, I will see you guys again for assembly. Thank you so much for watching, and next episode will be our last one with the assembly of the bot, so stay tuned. Thank you so much. This is Optimus Prime 86 rolling out.